And we're back with more exciting adventures of the Incredible Hoax. I am Chris.
I am Mark.
And together we form... I always want to say that. We need to, like, formally come up with something. And together we form the Incredible Hoax. But then I just introduced the show as we're the Incredible Hoax. I'm Chris. And then I can't do that. I'd be like doing Incredible Hoax twice. Like, I'd be in an infinite loop of just introducing Incredible Hoax.
Well, the Green Lantern motto has already been used, so we can't do it brightest day and, and blackest night. It's already been taken.
Oh, yeah, and you had the Green Lantern, or it was the Red Lantern shirt last week.
Yes, it was Red Lantern.
Red
yes,
Lantern.
in honor of Razor. Great character.
Yeah. All right, so this idea hit me the other day, and our topic of the day is the it just hit me that we're ending a decade, which there is some confusion to me. Like, and my brain wants a decade to be like from 2010 to 2019, but technically it's 2011 to 2020. So technically we still have a half a year of movies left to count as a decade, but with COVID, we're going to assume nothing amazing is going to blow us away in the next half year.
Right.
But, I mean, maybe you're a big Hoochie-Doo fan. What's his name?
Yeah, Christopher Nolan and Tenet.
Tenet you might eat your words because of Tenet. I could see that happening. But if that's not out, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're Christopher Nolan. You're kind of a sucker for Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. There's no question. Yeah, he's on my top 5. Yeah.
But as of August 3rd, which is today, we're going to go with what we've been given. We're going to play the hand we've been dealt as of August 3rd.
Yes.
Which means no Tenet, no Wonder Woman 85, no Black Widow, none of that stuff.
Yeah, we're skipping to the end, basically.
Yeah, basically. Well, we might revise it. If something good comes out and amazes us, we'll do a revised version in January.
Right.
Or something like that. All right, so the topic is the best movies of the past decade, starting with 2011. And I make a point of this because I had to delete one of mine off of mine because it was 2010. And I'll go ahead and give away that spoiler. Social Network was going to make my list. Mm-hmm. It came out in 2010. Yeah. But since we're counting 2011, I had to take it off.
Yeah. But that was a great movie for the 2000s.
So shout out to Social Network, which you're too old now. So we're going to start with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll start with 5
and go down.
Count up.
We're doing the ascending
We'll ascend
order.
to number 1. What's your number 5 movie of 11 to 20?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the most recent Quentin Tarantino movie. Mm-hmm. Love that movie. Got a chance to watch it a second time a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I was amazed how... it was a movie I didn't know if there would be a drop-off, because there's some surprises, and once you know the surprises, if it's coming, do you enjoy it as much? And I found that I did. I actually enjoyed the movie, I think, if it's possible, even more the second time, because I just enjoyed the quiet moments where... when you first watch it, you don't know where the movie's going, so you have a little bit of impatience as a viewer. The second time, I knew what was going on. I kind of just relaxed and just let scenes play out, and enjoyed the scene between Leo DiCaprio and talking to that actress, the child actress, and they're on the porch and they're talking, and it was just a little small moments like that.
Called her Pumpkin Puss.
Yeah.
Oh no, or Sugar Puss or whatever he said. Pumpkin Puss.
And then they're talking about this book he's reading, and it ends up being a nice little moment. So things like that. And of course, Brad Pitt is just terrific in that film.
He won the Oscar. He deserved it. Oops. I forgot to silence my phone. He definitely won that Oscar. That's for sure, or deserved that Oscar, I should say. Well, to keep things moving, because with this being a top, there'll be 10 movies talked about, so this could be a longer show.
Moving along,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did make my honorable mention. It's right there. It's on my honorable mention list.
Awesome.
So as you can see right there, if I scratch, my handwriting's not as good as Mark's. My number 5 is American Hustle. American Hustle with David O. Russell's American Hustle with Bradley Cooper, Christian Bale.
Yes.
and
Amy Adams, right?
Amy Adams and Jennifer Lawrence. And
Yes.
I like that movie, and in fact, I won't give away a spoiler to do with my list, but keep a bookmark in your brain about American Hustle as we ascend up my list. But I liked American Hustle because it's a very 70s made movie. It's a movie that, I mean, it takes place in like the 60s and 70s or whatever. But the way it's made, the style, is that's my favorite era, is the 70s, early 80s era of filmmaking. That's to me, is when I picture a movie in my head and how you edit it and everything else, all of it, I picture that version of storytelling. And American Hustle to me is made very much in that vein. And it could be a Scorsese movie that was made in like 1978. American Hustle is,
Sure.
And that's why I liked it so much, is because you had all these modern actors and all the gifts of our modern age of filmmaking, but it is very 70s made film, and then just a really good story, and it's really intricately put together plot, and it's even though, again, kind of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there were some surprises. Of course, the spoilers, revisionist history of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So there's some things that there's a con, if you will, in American Hustle, but on repeated viewings it still holds up because the characters are all the main characters are so vividly realized, and then the way it's edited and the cinematography and the music montages, I just really like that movie. Like, that's a classic in my the way I see movies. That's just a classically made movie. Like that, I wish every movie was made that way. Like, that's the way a movie should be, in my head. American Hustle.
Well, the early 2010s was a fertile time for David O. Russell, and that was a really good movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see that, and it's a type of movie I think that really is up your alley. That kind of a story, and I get it.
Yeah. That's Number 4.
Number 4. Okay, for me, Hostels. It's a Western starring Christian Bale, and I love that movie. I thought it was a great movie. It's a Western, but it's a film really about damaged people. And it's a story you could set it in another time if you wanted. It didn't have to be a Western per se. You could have it in a background of another war if you want. But I thought the thing that appealed to me, and still does, I've seen it now I think 3 times.
Wow.
Its resonance about being about damaged people and how they get through it, how they survive, and how they can and tries to have somewhat of a hopeful ending in a more realistic way. I think a lot of times you see a movie like Rocky or a Frank Capra movie, and things get very romanticized, but often hopeful endings of real life are a lot more quieter. And I thought the movie's true to life appeal, is what I like about it. But basically, you have a guy who's part of the military, and he's having to escort this Native American to his burial ground, and but it's the adventure along the way, and it's very entertaining. I thought it was great.
Well, it's not on my list. Not in my honorable.
This is probably going to be the most controversial of the one of the night, because
you've sent me. You've seen you sent me your list earlier, and I've seen it. So yeah, this is definitely the one we disagree on. This is the one we disagree on because it obviously made your top 5 of a decade, and
I thought it was great.
I thought it was horrible. I thought it was just horrible. I barely got through the one viewing, and I'm not going to beat up on a movie you like. I mean, that's not the purpose of the show, so I'm not going to berate it. I'll just say this: you have to at least tell me I'm not out of left field. I mean, I gotta have a point here with this criticism. So much of the movie is walk, campfire, deep conversation over campfire. Walk, campfire, deep conversation over campfire. Walk. That's like they kept repeating that, and there'd be like this scene where like they're staring at the fire, and they talk about some they murdered some guy in the Civil War or some other war, and another one would be like telling some of their horrible story, and it's just all these people just staring, just glum and sad, and like that's like the heart of the movie, is like that's like all they do for like I don't know how long of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like I remember watching the movie, and I saw it at the theater. I went to the movies because I really the previews and trailers like, dude, this is Western Christian Bale. This is gonna be like wow, amazing. I mean, I'm sitting there in the theater and like I would literally laugh and chuckle when all of a sudden they'd be walking and all of a sudden cut to nighttime with a campfire, and I'd be like, oh my god, they're at another fucking campfire scene. Yeah. Another one. How many campfire scenes could one movie have?
I don't know. I think that, well, to me, that's like, you could argue it's like complaining about a martial arts film and, what? They're stopping to do more karate? It's like, what are you expecting in a Western? They can't stop at Motel 6. So there's a little bit of those things that are kind of true.
Well, there's other ways to tell the story. They had to have, every time they had a conversation, had to be at the campfire.
Well,
they couldn't, like, stop on a ridge and look out over a valley, or they couldn't be on horseback. They couldn't, like...
Well, obviously, my larger
ever break
point,
it up with something else?
I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying, I think my larger point is, if a movie's working for you, you know, things like that, to me, that's... I don't know. I didn't have that. I didn't come away with that, because the movie obviously was working for me. So I'm enjoying those moments, those quieter moments with them, of characterization and them talking with one another, and so it worked for me. Clearly didn't work for you.
Well, and there's one on my list. You're probably going to fire right back at me, okay. And when we get to it, because you'll be like, how'd you like Hostel? How'd you not like Hostels, but you like this one?
Well, okay, all right.
So for some reason, you're right. Well, I can take introspective and I can take expository. You know, because what it comes down to is a lot of exposition. Instead of showing me the Indian raid or the Civil War battle, you're having some character just tell me about it. That's you're just verbally giving me exposition, and like sometimes you can handle that in a movie and you love it.
Yeah.
And there's other times where you want to, you know, cut your arm off and run away and get away from it. You know.
Well, they make a decision. The storyteller. The screenwriter made a decision to commit to character arcs. And when you do, that means there is going to be a lot of talking, because they start off in very different places than where they end. And it becomes a tough one, because that journey either works for you or it doesn't, you know. It worked for me. I thought it was done beautifully.
It didn't work for me at all. All right, number 4 for me, Kong Skull Island. Love that flipping movie. Again, goes back to what I really dig about movies. So you see the trend here.
Okay.
Of like movies that meet my selfish styles of movies. Kong Skull Island, man, was just right up my alley of the best of what I love about action, like certain types of action movies. I mean, there were actual sequences that had a beginning, middle, and end. Like every action sequence had a clear beginning, middle, and end to the action sequence, and of course I saw it in IMAX the first time, which was just the perfect way to see that movie with Kong and stuff. But just, of course, I'm a sucker for the Kong anyway. I love King Kong. I mean, I hated the Peter Jackson one. I mean, I like the Kong we grew up, the 30s and even the 70s one. To me, like the Peter Jackson's Kong is, other than the T-Rex fight, that movie's crap. So like this just, I grew up, well, we both did, but I dug them more than you did. You know, loving the Godzilla, Japanese, Godzilla versus King Kong Japanese stuff. You know.
Oh, sure. I went through a period where I was real crazy for that stuff.
Yeah, I loved all that stuff and still do. And anyway, that movie, I just dug it. I dug it, everything about it. It's maybe it's a guilty pleasure, but that to me was like a great action movie. It was like the clear cut who was a bad, clear cut who was good, and all the action was like very clear. I knew who was doing what to who. Right. And it was classic to me, classically made. And of course, Apocalypse Now, overtones, which were so.
Oh yeah.
Were not even remotely hidden. They were very overt.
Yeah.
But I dug it. The helicopter scene was just fantastic. I just ate that up.
Yeah. Well, to me, I thought there's a lot of fun to be had there. It's kind of that kind of ode to like the B movie monster thrills, and I think on that level it was fun, and it worked for the most part.
Yeah.
Clearly, while I enjoyed it, you
Right.
you liked it on another level, but that's okay. That's quite all right.
So number 3. You want to go first? Your number 3?
Well, I can. My number 3. This is kind of another recent one, but 1917, directed by Sam Mendes.
Yeah.
I really love that movie. The idea is, to me, is a great story to be had, and it gets kind of lost at the novelty of it being like shot in perfect like linear time. That's really well done, but you still have to have a story you care about.
Right.
There was a somewhat disposable experiment years ago. What was it? Hardwire Harry or something like that? Hardcore Harry or something like that. Similar kind of idea, where you're following this guy and whatever, but it failed to find an audience.
Yeah.
If you have the story, these little things like that can be interesting. I mean, Hitchcock did Rope, and it was all shot in sequence.
Yeah.
And that's a good movie. But here, to me, that's kind of an also. To me, it was just a really good story about them trying to stop this military, this battalion from attacking because it was a trap, and they're trying to stop them from.
Right.
Don't attack. You need. In fact, if anything, they needed to retreat because they're walking into a trap. Mm-hmm. So it was trying to save these guys' lives, and so you have these messengers we follow for this 2 hours of just nail biting action, and extremely well done. And yes, the cinematography is great. It's a technically really good looking film, that would be my number 3 right there. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself.
Good movie. Liked it. Solid. I liked it a lot. Solid. Wouldn't make any of maybe the best of that year, or not the best, but one of the best of that year. It came out last year, right? 19.
Yeah, sure did.
So it would probably make a top 10 or whatever of a 2019 for me. Didn't hold up for the decade for me, but.
Huh, okay.
Definitely. I mean, I liked it. I mean, it's a you movie. It's a very kind of like Kong is a me movie.
Yeah.
American Hustle is a me movie. 1970 is definitely a you movie.
Yeah, there's kind of the what do you say, the man of God got a good cause.
Well, yeah, you're a sucker.
When he runs.
I know.
In the end,
I already know
that's the scene.
I know the scene you like.
You know the scene I'm talking about?
I watched the movie. I'm like, this is Mark's scene right here.
Yeah.
Gallipoli.
Mark was like, yeah.
Gallipoli, Paths of Glory mission. We always I call it with Mark, Man of God or God of Good Cause. And used to be, it was Man of God, or Man of God or God of Good Cause, boom, you're dead. And like that was, he would eat that up. Like the dying was essential, but that's changed over the years. They don't necessarily have to die anymore.
Right.
But they have to be Man of God or God of Good Cause.
Yeah.
But that's essential. But definitely very Gallipoli, very Paths of Glory.
Right.
All that's right up your alley.
Oh yeah.
Number 3 for me. This is probably my version of Hostiles for you. Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, see, I knew that. This is the Hostiles thing. Like, this is the one that he's looking at me like, really? Because I'm looking at him like Hostiles, like, really? Blade Runner 2049. The cinematography, Deakins won his first Oscar finally, which he already should have won it probably 20 times before that. But anyway, finally got his Oscar due with that one. Gorgeous looking movie. When I first heard the concept of a sequel to Blade Runner, I actually was against it. I was like, Jesus. And because Ridley Scott, he's butchering this whole alien reboot stuff.
Oh yeah, he's not helping.
Prometheus and Covenant are just horrible. And it's like, just stop it. Get somebody else in charge. Because everything I find interesting about Alien, he's finding everything else that nobody cares about to dwell on. Like, who cares about the robot guy and all this like ancient civilization stuff? He's taking the most uninteresting part and running with it.
Right.
So when I find out there's a Blade Runner sequel, I'm like, okay, Ridley Scott is going to he's going to pick out all the parts that we think are boring. He's going to run with it. But thank God, another director did it. A different screenwriter. I thought it was it was so immersive. It was so into its world. I'm a sucker for Ryan Gosling anyway. He's one of my favorite actors. And he just played such a good part. There's some really big geeky wet dreams in the movie where the girls sink when he's making out with the real girl, but she sinks with his Siri, the computer generator of his Siri.
They link up together. I got
and they keep having to like re-render as they meld together.
Right.
And then there's a scene where she's out there in the rain for the first time, and with each raindrop that hit her, it has to re-render with a new raindrop, and they're so detailed. The details were amazing.
Yeah,
and I love the atmosphere, and I love how he's the personal quest where he's trying to understand his own origins and what they possibly may be, and it ends up being something else. But if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil that part. But what he thinks is happening, and then there's a scene where he kicks the chair and just. He comes to the wrong conclusion, but at the time you don't realize that, and he's so full of anguish. I just like all that stuff. I think a lot of the things you probably dug about Hostiles, I found them in Blade Runner. I liked the quiet moments, but also liked a lot of the action and the world it created.
Yeah. Well, that's a rather interesting point. I would say, we're in Hostiles. I like the moments where you have the Rosamund Pike character making friends with the Native American family and them letting her borrow a dress and things like that. Little quiet moments like that I think are sweet and interesting. Whereas Blade Runner 2049 have scenes where I'm like, what are you doing? Where's the urgency? He needs to be running for his life, and so like really, we're going to do a virtual sex scene now, but he should be running for his life, right?
Yeah, there is awkward timing to that scene. There is. I have to give you that.
So things like that is a little bit strange. That's why. I remember I saw it a second time to give it another chance, and it was the scene. The movie's like it's a slow burn, but I'm with it. But then it takes, I don't know, when Jared Leto is the corporate bad guy.
Yeah.
When he's first introduced, the movie to me just came to a complete stop for like 15 minutes, and then we don't see him again for an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, it was very odd, I just don't know that movie for me. Once it kind of like he's introduced, it never found a rhythm after that for me. But anyway, it technically gorgeous looking movie.
Right.
The sound is terrific. The guy the score emulates the original. I mean, it's just really technically it looks really good. I wish I liked it more, but I certainly don't.
I love it. I saw it twice in IMAX, and then when it came and hit HBO, I think I watched it every time I could catch it on HBO. And of course, I've got the Blu-ray. I just ate that movie up. All right, on to number 2.
All right.
What's your number 2?
Did you want to go first this time, just to mix things up?
Sure. My number 2 is yet again David R. Russell. He's makes 2 appearances on my top 5. Silver Linings Playbook, which I think we've talked about before. How much I love this movie. I love this movie. I love this movie. It's a perfect movie. It's an absolutely perfect movie. First time I watched it, I bought into it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it is a classic Hollywood romance in some respects.
Sure.
They also had the awkward quirkiness of his mental health issues and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you and I both can probably relate on some degree. I won't speak for you, but I definitely relate with a guy who got stuck. You know, there's even the line in the movie. He's like, "I'm sorry, I just got stuck." Well, I definitely relate to that. I've definitely been there in my life. I definitely can relate to the character. How you get obsessed with something and it affects you. It makes you depressed. It affects you. You know, and you get stuck on it and hung up on these things. I definitely can relate to that. It nailed that. It nailed that perfectly. Jennifer Lawrence, it's definitely her best performance. She won the Oscar. Definitely her best performance. It's just a classically made. Again, David O. Russell just made a classically made movie. It has the big romantic upswell ending. Got one of my favorite musical montages with the Bob Dylan Johnny Cash song as they dance and he starts get very original plot to me they're completely original. You know, I mean, how many movies you see where like the big crescendo is a dance off? I mean, like a competitive dance thing mixed with a parlay about a football game. I mean, just a very unique movie. There's nothing to really compare it to. Just an original but classic. Like, did we talk about this the other day? Like my rule of normal. Did we talk about this on the other podcast the other day? I have the rule of normal. I know you know my rule of normal. Just like so many times you just have success just by being normal.
Right.
You know, with football, using football is like, I don't need the quarterback that wants to throw a Hail Mary in every play.
Yes.
Just be normal. Make the normal plays, and you'll.
Yeah.
Normalcy attributes itself to success a lot of times, and that's taking to me a common theme. Is like these are classically made movies. They take the punchlines. They take the crescendo.
Yeah.
You know my phrase. You know, when movies have the perfect moment set up and then they don't pay off on it. And you're like, you had the moment right there. Why did you not? Jojo Rabbit is a movie I just watched this weekend. It's not on this list, but that's a movie whose ending to me took the crescendo. The ending is perfect. That's a perfect ending. They took the crescendo.
Right.
Right.
That's
a running theme for me in these movies. These are classically made movies. They hit all the right beats. They're just well made. They don't go off left field for no reason. And the Silver Linings Playbook is just. I'm a sucker for the romance in it. I'm a sucker for the whole thing. If it wasn't for a hell of a good movie, it'd be my number one. I just love the way it's edited. I love all the dancing stuff. I love all the montages. I love all the acting. It's just well made. Every character is well thought out. There's not a wasted character in it.
Well, it's a very difficult thing to be offbeat but also authentic.
Yeah.
And this movie, I think, can lay claim to that because it is offbeat, a little odd. I mean, you have like characters obsessing over football games, and superstitious and all that.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to be in a mature relationship, and she's got to deal with this. And so she's like, okay, I don't want to insult them, but navigating through that is fun but real. So there's a lot of
a lot of the characters feel real. Like, authentic is the word.
Yeah.
She's a real woman. Like I buy her. She really exists in real life.
Yeah.
She's real. The mom is real. Like a lot of the characters are real.
Yeah, because if she had her druthers, she'd never watch a football game, but she knew it was important to them. And it's the thing. And how authentic is that? How real is that? People, if you care about somebody, you'll do things because it's important to them, and they really capture that in that movie.
Well, that's why he does the dancing.
Sure,
thing.
and it's important to her.
He wants to get the letter, and that's why she coaxes him into it.
Yeah.
But eventually, it's. I mean, he does love her, and of course, the big romantic ending.
Sure.
They finally come together.
Yeah,
he
he gets there.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I see. Like I said, I mean, I'm. We can make fun all you want. But there's a reason why I go ahead and get vanilla ice cream and get a sugar fried steak and get a cheeseburger and stuff. I go to things that don't let you down. I like things that don't let you down. I like classically made things. I think it shows. That's one of the things on the list. These are made the way I think you should make movies. Yeah, that's a kind of running theme for me. Go ahead. Right. What's your number two? But in all fairness, yours meet your own sensibilities.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We haven't really touched on to that, but maybe this will be.
But we did with 1917.
A bit, yeah. I guess we did.
Go ahead.
My number 2 is Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan. For you folks that know I'm a Christopher Nolan fan, it should be no surprise that movie made the list.
Is it his best movie overall yet?
And
for you, is it your favorite?
My
Nolan
favorite
movie?
Christopher Nolan movie is actually Memento.
It's still Memento. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that movie. But Dunkirk, I love that movie. You have 3 different time periods of a single event. And you have, well, that's what the movie, that's the approach. It's challenging. You have to keep up, because you're like, wait a minute, I'm watching something. Wait a minute, didn't that happen earlier? And you're like, you're right. But they all interconnect. And it's a very fascinating way to approach a real incident where the British were stuck on this island and they were about to get wiped out by the German blitzkrieg. And so, anyway, it's regular British citizens got their yachts and boats and went and got them. It was an incredible thing that got organized. That's what the thing is about. So I love the history of it, but also I love the way it's approached with the different time periods. Classic Christopher Nolan messing with the time.
There's amazing set pieces in it. There's a scene where they get on that boat and the one kid knows this is a doomed boat. And they keep working their way to get out of the boat. Yeah. Of course, it gets hit and it starts to sink.
Right.
There's some amazing set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, you follow this one character, and he just has the worst luck. He goes literally from, getting shot at on a beach, he's shot at inside a boat, and the bullets are penetrating.
Dong! We saw that in IMAX, and it was so loud.
Yeah. It was like that boat was it was target practice for the Germans. Yeah. And they're like, oh gosh, they don't know we're in here. Anyway, it's a very tense movie. So it works it works as a thriller as well, not just a piece of history. But I love that movie. One of the all-time greats, really. I always like to make fun of the scene. Tom Hardy's in the airplane, and it does take him quite a while for that plane to land. I am amused by that, but it does work to great dramatic effect for him to show up at the last minute and save the day. So anyway, hats off to Nolan and company.
All right, number one 2011. I keep wanting to say 10. 2011 to 2020. You want me to do mine first? 2011.
Yeah, go ahead.
My number one movie is the Whiplash. And I've been pretty consistent on that one, saying that was the movie of the decade. When I first saw it, I was like, this is the movie of the decade. This is the best movie. I can't imagine another movie beating it. And so far I've been right, at least by my own standards. We always make fun of, was it Siskel said the difference between this movie and the other movies nominated. We was talking about Goodfellas, like the difference between light and lightning. Remember that phrase? I feel somewhat like that. That saying. Whiplash is just absolutely electric. To me, it's an all-time movie. It's not just my favorite of the decade, but shows up on the favorite all-time list. Performance. J.K. Simmons obviously is just amazing. Won the supporting Oscar, and he definitely deserved it. The editing is just incredible, right up there. My favorite edited movies of all time are. I'm a huge fan of editing, and original 1977 Star Wars and JFK to me are the pinnacles of editing a movie, and Whiplash is right up there in the best of company with those type of movies for me in terms of the editing of it. Performances are all just sharp. I love how it's such an economy to it. It stays with the scenes you give a damn about. It goes to the family stuff, but only enough to inform the other scenes. It doesn't dwell and get stuck in a bunch of exposition, and you don't just get stuck in all the home life and all that kind of crap that you don't care about. It's there long enough to get what you need to get back to the stuff you really care about, because you really care about is this kid versus J.K. Simmons. And of course, there's a personal level to the movie because as hell bent as his character is to make it and achieve whatever it is he thinks is being forced upon him to achieve by J.K. Simmons. You know, I went through my own period where I was hell bent to change my life, and the story in the movie where the kid is hit by the truck and he still runs to the audition. I did that. I mean, you can vouch for this. Yeah. I had a car wreck and flipped a car, and I was so hell bent to do what I was doing. I still went into a film shoot after flipping and totaling a car. So I know where that character is. So there's probably a lot of personal that goes along with not just the movie. I mean, I know what that character feels like. I know what he's thinking. I know what he's going through completely, and it nails it. Nails that obsessiveness, that unearthly drive, all that. I totally get it. It nails it. It represents it perfectly. It nails it completely. It's just a perfect movie, classically made. It's just an all-timer for me. I mean, one of these days, if I revise my 10 best personal favorite movies, it has a very good chance of cracking into that top 10. It definitely easy to say top 20 of my personal favorite movies. Easy, just spot on, perfect movie. I will not entertain otherwise.
Well, it's a great movie.
I'm just kidding. You can if you don't like it, you don't like it.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No. I as you know, I think it's a great movie. Always have thought it was a great movie. I've always been aware that you, in particular, though, it hit certain personal beats for you. So there's no way I could ever like it as much as you know what I mean. Yeah. But I too give it 4 stars. It's in terms of an exciting, exhilarating experience as dramas get. It's hard to top it, because it's really the ultimate battle of wills. There is kind of this Hitchcockian manipulation that goes on with the stuff that these characters end up doing to one another, and then but it works. It's 2 brilliant performances there. Them going at it, and J.K. Simmons. That's one of the great performances of the decade in that role. No question about it. So, to me, though, for movies like that, though, the first time you watch it is always going to be the greatest. That's just my personal opinion. Because once you've kind of seen it, you kind of know where it's going. The other times you can still, I think, are satisfied, but it's never as great. But that's just my personal opinion.
Let me say this. I agree with that. It's not a movie I can put on to just enjoy and kill time with. It's not that. Silver Linings Playbook is that movie. If I'm just relaxing or just doing some work and I want something on the TV, Silver Linings Playbook is more that movie for me. I've watched Silver Linings Playbook. I mean, realistically, probably 30 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of it is just putting it on. I enjoy having it on. I can look up at any moment and know what's going on. I like the characters. I know where it's at. I mean, we all have movies like that.
Sure.
That you just put on any moment. Or if it's on cable or whatever, you just catch it at any moment. You can watch the rest of it.
Oh, yeah.
Whiplash is kind of like RoboCop to me. I can't watch RoboCop all the time. I gotta, it's reserved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If RoboCop's on cable, I hardly ever watch it.
We'll have to do a special show about our go-to movies, because I have 2 odd ones, but they are movies that, like I said,
you have movies that are on cable. You can, like Scarface. If Scarface is on, I'm watching it. I've seen that movie as much as any movie ever made, but I never put it on any kind of an all-time list. But without fail, if it's on, I watch it.
We're talking about the classic.
Yeah, Pacino. Yeah, Pacino Scarface.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but there's a difference. Like RoboCop is my second favorite movie of all time. If it's on cable, I rarely will just put it on RoboCop and catch the last part. It's different. It's a different mindset.
Sure.
It takes me to a different place.
Sure.
It's not a casual experience for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Whiplash that's an intense experience.
Yeah. Sure. It's a different place to go to. So it's just there's a different type of movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just an observation,
Oh, that could be a show. You're right. That could be a show unto itself. You're number one.
My number one, Wes Anderson, The Grand Budapest Hotel. I love, love, love that movie. It is a bit of history. It's quirky. It's funny. It's sad. It's so many things. It's clever. You have basically this author, very much like a Citizen Kane, where you have a reporter investigating about the former mogul. Well, here we have an author investigating about the history of this hotel. Specifically this maitre d' and the former owners, and their experience during World War II, and it's just it's a fascinating look back. There's a romance to keep up with. There's a question of who in the will is the true heir to this to the hotel and the fortune, and so anyway, there's a lot to absorb there, but it's never overwhelming.
I gotta watch this movie again. You are not the only one. I watched it. I mean,
yeah,
I liked it.
Okay.
I love Wes Anderson. I mean, Royal Tenenbaums, if we were doing, 2001 to 2010, Royal Tenenbaums might be number one. Well, no, it would be number one. Because you have No Country and There Will Be Blood in there.
Well, it'd be your top
It'd be top
10.
5. It'd be top 5.
Wow.
For sure. Royal Tenenbaums would be top 5
I remember
for me.
you really liked that movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
It'd be top 5. So I'm definitely with him. But for some reason, I liked it. And everybody else loved it. And I've never gone back and really revisited it to see what I might have missed. So, and you're not the only one. Okay. I mean, that makes top all-time, or not all-time, but recent lists all the time.
Yeah, I love that movie.
And I'm like, okay, I liked it, and I gotta give this movie another shot. I've gotta watch it again. It's gotta be. I gotta cue it up and watch it.
Well, there's the technical things that are more curiosities, but the bookends. He shoots it in like 3 different frames. The movie begins where the girl is walking as she sees the statue, and everything's like that full frame, the 16:9, and then it goes back and it's Jude Law, and then things are pushed in a little bit, and we finally go back to the all the way back to like the World War II and the Ray Fiennes part of the story, and it's that Academy ratio 4:3. So it's interesting that that kind of detail, that every period has its own. He gave its own aspect ratio. So there's a technical curiosity there that might be of interest to you fans, movie fans out there. But the performances are great. Ray Fiennes, I think this is his greatest performance.
Better than Schindler, huh?
Yeah, hands down. He's hysterical, but it's also tragic. Yeah,
I gotta watch this movie.
I love it.
Well, don't get me wrong. I want to be clear. I liked it. I'm definitely all on board your pick. But for some reason, it didn't grab me like it did you and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
So I've just got to give it another chance. Because I feel like I missed something. I missed the boat.
To me, you're talking about how you were talking about with Silver Linings Playbook. Yeah. How you loved it because to you it spoke to you how movies should be made and all that. Yeah. And to me, that's a great. Grand Budapest Hotel is a great example of what I like. It kind of technically goes for broke. There's practical effects. The score is very classic Hollywood. You've got great performances. There's a romance in there. Actually, you can argue there's a couple of romances in there that are of interest. But and but ultimately, it's Wes Anderson's show, and his directing is.
Well, like I said, I'm a fan. I love. Of course, I love Bottle Rocket. I loved Royal Tenenbaums. Is next to French Connection. Royal Tenenbaums is my favorite Gene Hackman. I can't tell you on how many levels I relate to Gene Hackman and Royal Tenenbaums. You always, I think you used to always tell me like the character in the movie that reminds you the most of me, you used to say was John Wayne the Searchers.
Oh yeah, Ethan.
And I think that I think as age comes, I think Gene Hackman in Roll Tenenbaum is probably I probably act more like him than anybody really, because he's just very eccentric, and he doesn't quit, but it's a different way of not quitting. He's I don't know. It's like he's trying to find always the con, always trying to find the angle, and he never hears no. He's just got to change up his con, his angle to get what he wants, and I really relate to that. I mean, all the setbacks and stuff. You always have to think of a new angle. How do I approach this? I mean, there's a great scene in the movie where they won't let him in the hospital to see his son, and so he's outside. He's like, well, if we shimmy up that gutter, we could like he's just unstoppable.
Yeah, there's a never say die thing.
Yeah, all that to say, I'm a really big fan of Wes Anderson. And I just got to give that movie another chance. I liked it. It didn't. I remember it got nominated for Best Picture that year, and it came out like the prior spring or something.
Right.
And I was like, "Really? You got nominated?"
That in of itself is rare.
Yeah, and I was totally caught off guard. I was like, I didn't realize it was that big a deal, because I saw it. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just gotta rewatch it, man. I gotta rewatch it.
Well, if you do get a chance to see it again,
it's a priority now.
I hope you'll like it. And
I'm not rewatching Hostels, but
I highly, with it being my number one, I highly recommend it. And yes, I don't expect us to agree on everything, but
well, I'll tell you this. I
enjoyed that one.
I'm pretty firm, and I think my viewing of Hostels was very fair, and I'm confident in my opinion of Hostels. But I will promise you, I will give Grand Budapest Hotel another spin. Like I said, I liked it.
Fair enough.
It never hit me that way, but I'm going to give it another chance. All right, to wrap up the show, I want to do this. Give me a few honorable mentions, and I have some here if that helps. Wolf of Wall Street is an honorable mention for me.
Okay.
That was probably my favorite Scorsese of the decade. I don't know how many movies he made this decade. He made Hugo. Hugo, for whatever reason, that was another one people loved. I'm like, okay. I didn't think it was that great. But yeah, I thought Wolf of Wall Street was, and it's just so over the top. I love Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie. Django Unchained. Speaking of Leonardo DiCaprio, Django Unchained. Do I like it as much as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I don't know. They're right together. I like them both a lot. I sure like Django. I probably do like Once Upon a Time just because it's a little more fluid to me. Like, Django feels like it goes on longer than what it's supposed to. Like, it ends and then it keeps going.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of a drug out ending. I remember
drug way out.
I remember making that point when I left the theater. Yeah.
Yeah, Drive. I love Ryan Gosling in Drive. That's a movie I've gone back to a bunch of times in the past decade. I really dig that. I love his character. I like the editing. Editing's a big thing with me. Once Upon a Time, as I put on my list. Blue Valentine, another Ryan Gosling. He's like, I guess he's my actor of the decade. Him and Bradley Cooper, I just totally embraced. Past decade.
I'm fond of both actors. Yes.
And another honorable mention I put on here. Name your honorable mention favorite Star Wars movie since we've had the Disney reboot. What's your favorite Star Wars movie of the decade?
Ugh.
And that doesn't mean it obviously wouldn't make your top 10 because it didn't. But like, what's your favorite of the Disney reboot? Now that we have a decade of them in our pocket.
Yeah, we're talking post prequels, basically.
Yeah, Disney reboot, Disney Star Wars.
I'll say Force Awakens because it's the one I did give 4 stars to, and I thought it was a great bridge movie. That's what the intention was. I'll just try to forget that they failed on the next 2, but that one I thought was well done. They set themselves up for a wonderful trilogy and blew it.
It sure did. I can't argue that. That's why I would say Rogue One, which is my favorite of the Star Wars. Not a perfect movie. Again, we're only talking about what we get, the hand we dealt. So your honorable mention Star Wars. I'd say Rogue One, mostly on the strength of K2SO. It's such a strong, funny character. I mean, he really was like a shining light in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then the strength of the last, the third act of Rogue One, really, or what sets it apart.
Yeah.
The second act, the middle, pretty much anything to do, and he's a good actor, but that movie just didn't work. Anything to do with what's his name? He played Last King of Scotland. I can't think of his name. He was in Good Morning Vietnam. He was the general, or he was the rebel leader guy. What's his name? He's got the slack eye. He got the eye that's kind of slack. He was in Good Morning Vietnam. He was Robert Williams' right hand man. Why am I having a blank in his name?
Oh, you're talking about Forrest Whitaker, right?
Yes. When he played the rebel leader.
Yeah.
All those scenes suck. Like, they should have cut all those scenes out. He's a great actor, but
Gerrera. That's the character's name.
Yeah, none of those scenes worked. None of those scenes worked. They should have cut that whole thing out. All that just bogged down the movie, big time.
That's one of the least effective scenes in the movie.
All that stuff. That should have all made the cutting room floor. I love him to death. He's a great actor. I get what they were going for. Yeah. It didn't work. But having said that, the third act and KTUSO are so strong. I would call it my favorite. That had such an emotional wallop. They nailed the third act. The first two acts are shaky as hell, but they nailed the third act. And I would love to have this big thing with the Snyder cut of Justice League. I'm dying to see the original. What Garrett was his name? I would love to see the original cut.
Gareth Edwards, is that right?
I want to see the original cut of Rogue One. Because remember, half the whole trailer was his movie.
Yeah, they said it was too. They said it was too dark. Yeah.
Well, I want to see it. I want to see that cut.
It would be I'd be curious.
I want to see that cut, man. Anyway, what's some honorable mentions for you?
I thought Rango. I mean, we haven't talked about animated films too much, but as animated films go, I thought it was the best of the decade. Came early, was a surprise. I still think highly of it. Worth your time. Has the comedy. Has some good action scenes. Johnny Depp before he became
insane,
unbearable, and so another great movie to check out, I think, is Spielberg's Lincoln. It's the best compliment I can give it is a movie that is that interesting, and it's about passing a bill. I mean, it's just it doesn't sound like the stuff of great drama, but it's extremely well done.
And what's his name? Daniel Day-Lewis got all the praise for Lincoln, as he should. But Tommy Lee Jones was, he was nominated for supporting, and he didn't win that year. I can't remember who won that year, but he was really, really, really good. He was equally as good as Daniel Day-Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's saying something. That's not a small statement.
I still quite like The Big Short. That's one of my favorites of the decade.
Yeah, that was good.
Comedy / satire on the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely worth your time. And Birdman was the comeback of Michael Keaton, and I am still quite fond of it just for that reason alone. Struggling actor trying to find a career again and gets a second chance. I really quite like that movie.
I liked it. That's another one. That's another one of those where I liked it, but I didn't see what everybody else saw. I didn't get it. I guess I just didn't get what y'all got.
And in terms of like franchise movies, I think one movie that the more I've watched, the more I've appreciated, and that was Dark Knight Rises. And the last few times I've watched it, it's epic quality, and it's just like, well, it's too long, or this, and it takes Bruce Wayne too long to get back into the movie and all that. I quite actually like his journey. It was a brave choice to go, I guess, that long, that epic for its final chapter, but I quite liked it. And And I, for one, did like the Hobbit trilogy. I realize I'm the only one, but if we're talking franchises, I did quite like it.
Oh, Lord.
I think it's worth your time. It's not Lord of the Rings, but it's still quite good, I think.
Yeah, I'll pass on the Hobbit stuff. That was unbearable. That was hard. That was a hard one to watch. I would say for in terms of movie franchises, I like that topic to end there.
Okay.
I thought that the Planet of the Apes stuff was they were all successful.
Yeah.
And they all got a lot of praise in terms. They got some Oscar nominations for technical stuff and stuff. And everybody always like them, but nobody really talks about them. But they were quietly amazing. That was like a really great, solid trilogy that we had.
Yeah.
Solid as hell. And another, it's still ongoing, and I referenced one of them, but I love the monster that they're doing with Godzilla and King Kong. I've loved every one of them. I loved Godzilla, and I loved Kong Skull Island. Obviously, it made my top 5. And then I loved Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think they're nailing them. I think they're nailing them out of the park. But again, I'm a sucker and a fan of those movies, or those types of movies and genres. So, but again, if you are a fan, then you should be have some I guess authority on the subject. And they're telling you they're nailing it. I'm telling you they're nailing it.
Sure,
they're nailing it. They're absolutely nailing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would maybe for another show, but yeah, I've not enjoyed them, as you know. I think they're far too dark, and I think they're rather dull. But anyway,
dull. He ends the show with a liver punch, right?
But I think we can both agree, and on a positive note, I think we can both agree that for any the two people that have not seen the John Wick trilogy, you need to get on board with that, because that's
another one.
That's a really good franchise that was a surprise.
We're experiencing a really good one,
and so that's a good one.
Yeah, we're all on board with that one.
So get on board with that one.
Yeah, and franchises that can just go away, the fast and whatever's that can stop. Vin Diesel can just stop. If we could just not have Vin Diesel for the next 10 years, that would be great. I don't know if you probably don't agree with me on that one, but
I've enjoyed them, but I do wonder, are we going to feel the same way when we're on part 17 or something? I don't know.
I don't know, man. They're not my cup of tea. They're not my cup of tea at all. I'll just have to quietly refrain. Kind of like Harry Potter. I just kept my mouth shut and let everybody else enjoy them. That's kind of how I feel about the Fast and Furious movies. I'll just keep my mouth shut and let y'all enjoy them. I'll just not participate. I'll go on the ride. I'll watch everybody's purchases.
Well, it's hard to believe that first one came out in like 2001. Was actually quite good. But they've made like so many since. So.
And then they've gone so ridiculous on the
other
end of this.
They've become kind of over the top action films, and that's fine.
They just sort of run out their welcome. And speaking of things that have probably worn out their welcome, that's our best of the 2011 to 2020 show.
Yeah.
All right. I have got a pretty good list. That's 10 good movies to go watch.
I think so.
Well, 9 at least. I don't know. I'm just joking. I'm joking.
10 good movies. You decide. How's that?
There's 10 good movies there, and then you decide if you think it's actually 10 or if it's like 8 or 6 or 7. So, but anyway, I'm definitely giving Grand Budapest a watch soon, very soon. I'll give it another watch.
Cool.
By the time we do our next round of podcasts, I'll have watched it.
And, I haven't seen Silver Linings Playbook in a long time, so I might have to check that out.
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. All right. So there'll be more podcasts, but that's our 2011-2020 summary. Adieu.